Hey, 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 everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to today's podcast. And as you can tell by the title, we're going to be discussing the trial of George Floyd. And I prefaced it that way because if you've been watching, it appears that George Floyd is on trial. So that's what we're planning on discussing. My co-host will be joining us shortly. But in the meantime, you got me and Cousin Skip. To you. So what are your thoughts about this trial going on?
Well, as much as I've watched it, and I have not watched it from wire to wire. However, I have watched it daily to keep up with the gist of it and how it's going. And it appears at this stage that the defense is grasping at straws to make any type of defense. They introduced a different perspective of the video to say that Officer Chauvin was not kneeling on his neck, but was kneeling on his shoulders.
Oh, okay. That's
right.
The story? Okay.
And another gentleman on, I think this was News Nation last night, he said that the examiner said that there were no scars around his neck, but there were scars on his shoulder. So they don't have much of a defense. So obviously they're going to introduce whatever they can to try to make it appear plausible that there is some other cause of death. It seems as though right now they're actually waiting for the medical examiner who actually pronounced the cause of death to come and testify. But right now, that's just the defense's position.
Well, it seems like they're from what I've watched, and I've been watching it intermittently. It appears that they're more concerned about his background than they are about what has happened to him. You know what I mean? They're painting him as, one says he died of a heart attack or something like that based on the drugs he had in the system. Then it's all these different things. It's almost like they're trying to take the focus away from where the focus needs to be. And even in death, he's still fighting to be vindicated, which is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy.
That's the job of the defense, is to distract, and if at all possible, put the burden on the victim.
So do you think it's successful? Do you see it being successful? I mean, thus far, I don't, but that's
no, I don't. In fact, this is the first trial that I have ever seen on television or anywhere else where the commentators are pretty much letting you know where they stand. And they don't seem to be giving any plausibility to any of the defenses that the defense for Chauvin are bringing up.
I think our co-host is appearing. Hold on, let me bring him in. Welcome, Mr. Bethia.
Hey.
What's going on, bro?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Cousin Skip Nancy, what's going on?
Hey, we were just talking about
of course, I caught it. I couldn't get in though. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So Cousin Skip, what were you saying? Finish what you were saying.
Well, what I was saying is that this is the only trial that I've ever seen where the commentators are not trying to make any excuses for the defense. This happens very rarely when a black man is the victim of homicide or murder or however you want to call it when the police are involved. I think the fact that the man Chauvin offered no assistance at all for this man. He knelt on his neck for 9+ minutes. He never checked to see if the man was dead or alive. He never checked his pulse. Even from his colleagues on the scene who suggested, isn't it about time we turn him over now?
Right.
He ignored everything and everybody.
And even the EMT, from what I've read, they wouldn't even let the EMT assist him.
Exactly.
And someone, I'll look back and see who it was, said that he didn't have a pulse, and Chauvin still had his knee on his neck.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think the younger guy, the rookie, that's also going to be on trial, he said several times, "Can we turn him over? You know, he does. I don't think he has a pulse. Can we turn him over?" And Chauvin didn't do it.
No.
You know, so I don't know. This thing is just crazy. That's all. It's just crazy.
What?
It's crazy.
Mel?
I don't know. I just think that the force was really excessive when it came down to it. Altogether, they didn't have to put their knee on his neck. They had his legs bound. They had, once you handcuff somebody and you're in law enforcement, you're in control of them, and their hands are behind their back, because you can't breathe as well as you can with your hands in front of you when you have your hands in back. When you hand your hands in back of you, it expands your rib cage, so you can't breathe like you can if your hands were locked down in front of you. So he should have knew better than that. And if he was really that bad, they could have called for a paddy wagon and threw him in the back of a paddy wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went down that route. But now I hear that they're trying to get him to take a third degree murder charge on him, which only carries 10 years. But the second degree carries I think like 40 years or 44 years, something like that. So one thing about it is that amazes me whenever police go to trial is that they always say, "Well, you didn't see what happened before the camera started rolling." Now, if I walked up in Target or Walmart tomorrow and put some donuts underneath my jacket and walked out, and then I went to court, nobody's going to say, "Well, he was going to pay for this, but he just put it underneath his coat." No, I'm going straight to jail. Me and the donuts. So it's it's pretty much like that. But police get that they get that carte blanche. But now that we have cameras and cell phones, and we have all the type of devices that can record their behavior, whether they want their behavior recorded or not, is a whole other different thing. And you're seeing the real America come out.
Well, my thing is, whatever, regardless of what he did prior to being arrested, but prior to being on his stomach, handcuffed with a knee to his neck, it to me is totally irrelevant. You know, even if say, for example, he did try to use a $20 bill, nothing that happened before warrants what happened. And I don't know why people are really struggling with that. I had a friend of mine who basically said, well, you know, he had a record, and you know, he held a knife to a pregnant woman to her belly, you know, when he robbed her house, him and a friend. And I said to her, I said, here's the thing, you need to read, because the police report states that yes, he was involved in a robbery, but nowhere in there by the woman's testimony did he even hold a knife to the woman's stomach. So people are taking these little things, and I'm not saying him breaking into somebody's house is something to just turn a blind eye to, but that was many years ago, and that doesn't warrant him being murdered in broad daylight in front of everybody.
Right.
So people, it's easier for people to deal with somebody's past, you know, and paint them as a criminal or whatever, than to deal with and hold people accountable for murdering somebody in broad daylight.
Right.
There's like no gray area there.
Go ahead, Skip.
No, I was going to say, you can't continually try people for stuff that they've done in the past, you know.
But people do it.
The man was walking upright when he went into the store, whether he knew the bill was phony or not.
Right.
He stood in line and he bought whatever he bought with that phony $20 bill.
Right.
He wasn't having any arrhythmic episodes.
Right.
He wasn't having any problems breathing. And yes, I see where the police frequently get intimidated by large black men. Okay, I get that. But you know, this man had been subdued. And when you look at the video where they're trying to introduce that his knee was on his shoulder, the officer's arm that you can see in the rear of the video, his only interest is to keep Floyd's leg pushed down on the ground.
Right.
He is not recognizing the trauma that the man is in, which is the reason that he continues to move his leg. Well, you know, after he stops moving his leg or anything at all, they still don't take their knee off of his neck or check his pulse or turn him over. They don't do anything to help him.
Yeah.
But my thing about it is that for me, and I know being on both sides of the law, is that if this guy was so bad and he was so wild, all he had to do, if he was spitting whatever, all he had to do was grab one of those spit bag helmets, keep him in the trunk of the police car, put it over his head, tie it, and let that be that, and just leave him on the ground until the paramedics come, until one of those what do you call it, paddy wagons come to pick him up, and let it go from there. They didn't have to do what they did. And all the expert witnesses that come up, they keep saying that was really extensive force that they were using. But the drug thing trips me out, because the girlfriend, she freely admitted, she was just like, yeah, man, we used to get high together. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, George, if you come back in the next life, don't pick her. Don't pick her. Whatever you do, don't pick her. Because I mean, my thing about it is that if say if me and Nancy got high together, whatever, and God forbid, God forbid something happened to her, and somebody come to me and say, "Well, you and Nancy got together." No, we didn't. No, what are you talking about? That would be my thing. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. That would have been it for me. But my thing about it is that if they can tear down your character, if they can't find anything else, like when he was bouncing around in the store, he was fine. He was fine when he was in that store and they showed that store video. He was fine. But once he got that encounter with the police, and I wonder how did they get him, how they get to the Mercedes to be sitting down and then wind up all the way on the other side of the police car and him face down on the ground. There's some tape that's missing somewhere.
I think he slipped. I think he slipped, because there's a tape of them showing when they were handcuffing him when he was in the Mercedes, and you can see that he slipped. That's how he wound up on the ground. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like his foot slipped, and they, but he was handcuffed at that point. So he slipped and he wound up on the ground and on his stomach, and then so he was handcuffed when they took him out of that Mercedes, out of that truck. He was handcuffed.
But this is the police we're talking about. So slipping, it just doesn't.
But there was footage. There was footage of him physically slipping, and the guy that was in the vehicle with him testified to that. When they first interviewed, they interviewed the witness, said that that's what happened. So there's footage.
He was his drug dealer.
Well, it doesn't
Well,
matter what he was. It doesn't.
that's not been
That's an assumption,
attested to.
right? That's an assumption.
Right, you're right. That's not has been tested to, but the girlfriend said the guy in the car was the guy that we were buying our drugs from.
Okay,
That's
but
what
was
the
she high when
girlfriend
she said
said.
it? Was she high?
Huh?
Was she
Huh?
high when she said it? Was she
I,
high?
I don't know. I wasn't in
See,
court.
I don't even deal
Okay.
with her testimony because at the end of, for
I got,
somebody to say
you got to deal with her testimony because that was his girlfriend. She was with him.
right, but I mean, but
She was
if
with him. So
well, but
if it's true, it's true. I mean,
right, but it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant who the guy was in the vehicle. The bottom line is the fact that he was handcuffed and not put on the ground and killed, pretty much.
The
And she probably
guy,
was
the guy who was in the vehicle with them is making arrangements with the police for them to ask him certain kinds of questions
so
and
he
not ask him any questions that will cause him to incriminate himself.
right.
Right. So
right.
whatever she's talking about ain't got nothing to do with nothing, you know.
Right. Now
And
he might
he's
have
not
some nefarious
going to
dealings.
take the stand and
Right.
answer any questions that's going to incriminate himself. They could been going to buy up all the dope in town, you know.
Right.
That's no reason this man for him to put his foot on his neck for 9
Right.
minutes and 26 seconds or whatever it was, for them to render no aid to him. And as I was saying previously, this is an occasion in which his behavior is so egregious and distasteful that the commentators who are covering this, you know, this is just obviously distasteful to them as well, you know.
Right.
And if most of them could convict him today, they probably would. There's something introduced by the defense that says he asked one of the trainers, does it sound like Floyd says, I ate too many drugs today? And the guy says, no, it don't sound like that at all. I don't know what he's saying, you know? So
Right.
it is something else. This is still them just grasping at straws because there is no defense for his behavior.
No. And the police, before you comment, Mel or Cousin Skip, there's a message in the chat from Dion Farmer. It says, it seems his character is on trial more than anything and not the fact that he was murdered. I saw a comment on Facebook that I thought was interesting regarding Chauvin's glasses. If Floyd was resisting so strongly while handcuffed, how was it possible for, hold on one second. I'm sorry. How was it possible for Chauvin's glasses to remain steady on his head for all those minutes?
Well,
yeah, got a point. Got a point.
To me, I think that I mean, is this whole case is like indefensible. There's nothing that you can come up with.
Exactly. Right.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. He's just losing on this one. Because when you got your own experts that are turning their back on you and saying, hey, you're not doing this and you're not doing that, and we shouldn't have used this amount of force, or we shouldn't have did that, or that shouldn't have happened, then we should learn from back in the 90s with Rodney King, and you saw the way they whooped him, and he wasn't fighting back. He wasn't doing nothing. And at the time, I remember, this is when video cameras first came out. Remember they had the big ones you put on your shoulders and all that? I remember my dad was a cop at the time, and my dad was just like, well, you don't know what happened before the camera started rolling. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he knew that I knew that was bullshit. That was bullshit. Because
Right.
because once you have a person down, and once they're subdued, the licks and all that stuff stop. You know what I mean? And once you have their hands subdued, even if they want to spit, like I said, they got spit masks you can put over top of their heads and tie it. And drag him off to jail and go ahead and go from there. So what Floyd went through was a terrible thing, but we have become numb to this as a society and as human beings. We've become numb to it. So I think that we're just to a point that it just doesn't it's not making any sense anymore. I think black people, I think black men, I think we ought to be on the endangered species list. I think we ought to get on that list and get us some of that money.
Cousin Skip, do you want to read this next comment from Alfonso Johnson? I believe is his name.
Yes, the gentleman said, after opening arguments and the prosecution's presentation of the 9+ minute video, I can't think of any reason why this trial should drag on for weeks. I understand due process, but anyone who examines the video objectively could only conclude that this was cold-blooded murder. However, with 6 white jurors, I remain hopeful, but not optimistic. I definitely don't think we should cast ourselves into the role of devil's advocate. It is exactly what we see. Those are all very good points. And the makeup of the jury is always relevant. However, I think that Mr. Chauvin is going to be the poster child for the policemen trying to get police haters up off of their back. And I think he's going to be the sacrificial lamb on this one. And I think not only is he going to be the sacrificial lamb, but he gave them the ammunition that they needed to make himself the sacrificial lamb.
Because they can't even defend him, like on any level.
There's no defense.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Normally they can, in some cases, they can pull something together to make it seem like something that it's not. But in this case, it's indefensible. It's indefensible. Okay. I just want to hold that thought real quick. Now, I just want to give the phone number out for any callers. The number is 202-227-6500. Call us and give us your opinion. Let us know your thoughts. You can also interact with us via chat on any of the platforms that this is streaming on, which is YouTube, Facebook and Twitch. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I think same thing that happened to Breonna Taylor and those officers were able to walk away. This would not surprise me if this guy gets off. It would not surprise me. This is America. This is a tribalistic country. This is our old Judeo-Christian country. It would not surprise me if this guy gets up, walks away, and gets his job back. It would not surprise me.
Dion Farmer again says exactly, the whole trial shouldn't have been able to get this far. He should be held accountable for this period. And then CJ Hurley said, a handcuffed person laying in a prone position does not pose a threat. Chauvin did not see George Floyd as a human being. This was a murder. The look on Chauvin's face while on Floyd's neck said it all. I absolutely agree.
It's very true.
Thanks for your comment, Dion. Thanks for your comment, CJ. We appreciate it. I absolutely agree. 100%.
The reason they're still going through with the trial is that, everybody's entitled to their day in court. So the defense has the right, in terms of defending this man, to trot out everybody who he can come up with, who might be able to give him something that he can hang his hat on in this man's defense. Right. So, yes, in my estimation, they're going through the motions. And one person who spoke in defense of Chauvin said that the jurors are probably getting numb after watching this video repeatedly. Right. And there were other cast members who said they're not getting numb. They're getting more confirmed in their conviction that this man was murdered and rendered no assistance, which he should have received.
It wasn't even allowed to get assistance by those that were trying to render assistance, like the
Right.
EMT and even the rookie cop. I mean, I think what was said that the
But
reason why he didn't say anything because he was a rookie, but he did say, several times, I think we should turn him over. I think we should turn him over. And I think there are people that are more concerned. Like, I think there's two things. I think people see, instead of seeing a man get murdered in broad daylight, they're more concerned about the buildings that were on fire, right? They're more concerned about the fact that we keep talking about this. And I've had people say this, the fact that we keep talking about this, we're creating a bigger divide. We're keeping people separated because we keep talking about this. People are people, all lives matter. If all lives mattered, we wouldn't be in a predicament.
Chinese people ain't saying that. When they get the shit smacked out of them, they're not saying that. They on TV talking about, oh, somebody knocked the hell out of me or somebody slashed my face. And they said that we bought the China flew over here and this, that, and other. So black people, we get out same day, just like they get to speak out when they get whooped. We get to speak out the same way when we get whooped. And the thing about it is that there's no other ethnic group in America who can talk about being disenfranchised and mistreated more than the African. There's no other group of people on the planet. When they brought those first 16 slaves over here and they divided it up and then went back and got more and started the international slave trade, there's not another group of people who can honestly attest and come up and say we've been through more than black people have been through. And as a matter of fact, instead of always calling us lazy and slow and we ain't never doing nothing, you need to be saying thank you, we appreciate it, because you took a lot of ass whoopings for us and you hung from a lot of trees for us. Because if it wasn't for us, it would be the Jews, it would be the Chinese, it would be the Spanish. If it wasn't blacks over here. Trust me. Trust me. And
It would be somebody.
Yeah, yeah. And don't think that they're not next on the bus. The bus is gonna show up at the house. The bus is gonna show up at the house. The Chinese people think they're getting it now. The Mexicans, the rest of them, all they go down the line with the whole thing. And it doesn't make a difference who's in office. I keep telling people that it doesn't make a difference who's in office. It doesn't. Doesn't at all.
Well,
Yeah.
there are some things that are so ingrained in our society and in the hearts and minds of people that somebody's always going to be the one with a foot on his neck. I mean, if I'm not convenient, Martin Hernandez will do. Okay. But, in terms of Mr. Floyd being the victim of a brutal, savage murder when he was defenseless, this is just a story that is too well known and repeated in our society. And I think this particular instance is talked about so much is because, there's just nothing. It's just so apparent that he intended to kill this man.
Yeah.
He was going to do what he did until that man was dead. He was just as casual and nonchalant about it. Nobody could offer him any suggestions. Nobody could tell him he was doing anything wrong. He had made up his mind. He was going to do what he was doing until he was good and well done doing it.
So here's my thing. Here's my question, not my question, but this is my comment. When everyone is so busy analyzing and pulling George Floyd's background, to try to justify what happened to him, what about Chauvin's background? What about, is it Tao, whatever his last name is, the Asian guy, who has both of them have extensive backgrounds on excessive force. Where's the characterization from their background? You know, they're on trial for attempted murder. George Floyd is dead, right? So why are we trying to label him as a thug or whatever we're trying to label him when he's the victim in all of this, regardless of how you feel about whatever he did in his past, whatever you feel about the $20 bill, whatever, he's still dead. He's still the victim. So no one is characterizing Chauvin and the rest of them based on their background, and they have a background, a professional background that is egregious.
Right.
Where is the outcry for that? Where is that? Because really, they're making the sad part, and I've said this before. The sad part is this whole situation has cast such a shadow on the cops that are actually doing their job, that actually took their oath to heart. It's painting a broad, and it's unfortunate, but this, because it's been so many over and over and over again, it saturates the whole police force with this negativity. And the ones that are not, that took their oath, that's serious about their oath and policing their community, they're getting literally put right up in here with the rest of it. So
yeah. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why they get put in with the rest of them. Because as the police tell you, if a white woman is walking down the street and somebody looks like Skip snatches her pocketbook, but it's not Skip, know what they're going to say? He fits the description. So guess what? The rest of the cops that are dressed in the same blue shit that this cop had his knee on Floyd's neck, guess what? They fit the damn description. Same thing with the Catholic priests in the Catholic Church. I got a big beef with them. Anyway, all priests to me fit the damn description. They fit the description. And if I was snatched up off the street tomorrow, they would say, "Oh, we're sorry, Mr. Bethea. It wasn't you. We did face recognition. We ran your fingerprints. It wasn't you. But you fit the description, though." So when you tell cops, so when cops say, "Oh, I'm a good cop. I'm not that type of cop. I'm not this." Nah, you wear the same get up that they wear. So guess what? You fit the damn description. So you with it.
And the point that you're making right now is one of the very reasons they're going to hang this fool out to dry, because they don't want people to take that particular attitude and opinion and run with it. Right. He is expendable, and I think they're going to let him go. I think he's going to be held to account for his actions on that day.
And didn't they take the more serious charge off the table?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think no. They're trying to give him a lesser charge. They was going to give him murder 1, but they're trying to give him like murder 3, which only will give him 10 years, and he will only want to do 8 years. Yeah, he only want to do 8 years. So
because I think
that's one of the original charges: murder 3 with something and murder 2 with something.
But I thought they were going to try. What's the prosecutor's name? I forget his name. But I know they were going to charge him with a higher charge. But I think that the higher charge was not. It would be a lot harder to prove based on the criteria for that higher charge. And I think that happened early on. I think at the press conference early on when he got arrested, that they were going to go for the big charge, but they said it's harder to prove based on the stipulations that have to be met for that particular charge.
I understand. Mm-hmm.
So I think they should have threw the whole book at him, threw the whole book, jail, him and Tao. What is his name? It's Tao, right? Is that pronounced Tao?
Tao.
Okay. And they should throw the book at him too, because he was sitting there making sure nobody got nowhere near Chauvin while he kept his knee on George Floyd's neck.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And I guess I think that we become too numb to this particular type of behavior, and what's going on, and the whole type of thing. And I know that CIA, FBI, local police, I know all of them, they listen and they watch podcasts and they watch radio shows and they watch what's going on in the hip hop community and they watch all that type of stuff like that. But it's about time that somebody stands up and really speaks truth to power, because that's what's not being fed anymore. Nobody's speaking truth to power. Everybody's scared to actually say what really needs to be done. And the only person that I see out there that really speaks their mind is probably Boyce Watkins, Farrakhan, and a few other people out there. But there you don't have people who actually speak truth to it and say, hey, this was wrong. And my thing about it is that I want to see all of the Caucasian people. I want to see y'all stand up. I want to see y'all stand up. Just like y'all ran through the Capitol, I want to see y'all run through this courthouse the same way y'all did and say that our man was wrong. Because he's part of y'all clique. I'm sure he's part of y'all clique. I'm sure he's a card carrying member of the clan. So I want to see y'all say that, we're throwing him to the wolves. He was wrong. So
yeah, I understand. Got that point.
I think in the final analysis, this trial is they're showing it gavel to gavel, and I think so many stations are committing their time to it because they really want this man to be held responsible for his actions. You will note the conspicuous absence of the station that is not showing any of it because
yeah,
no,
that's true. I didn't even. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Skip.
there's one particular station that is not showing any of this coverage because there is nothing that they can say in the defense of this man for the length of what this trial is going to be. This man convicted himself on a 9-minute videotape in which he sat there nonchalant and disinterested in the life of this man that he had his knee on his neck of.
And very smug, very smug.
Right.
And you had Ms. Farmer said Al Sharpton stands up. And what I want to say about Al Sharpton is that, first of all, he looks like a bobblehead Pez dispenser. First of all, I'll say that. Number two, I want to say that I'm tired of him talking about I marched with Martin Luther King and I was James Brown's manager. I'm tired of hearing that. And um Al Sharpton doesn't stand up. There's a difference between being a black leader and a leading black. There's a big difference in that. And black people need to know that. And white people need to understand that. Just because we got Michael Eric Dyson or Boyce Watkins or whatever standing up, or Jesse Jackson standing up, that don't mean they speak for the whole entire black race. They don't speak for, just like Newt Gingrich don't speak for everybody that's white. And white people don't go along with everything that he says or everything that some of those people on Capitol Hill say. So that's my whole thing about it. But my thing about it is that don't show up every time, or like in Al Sharpton, since she threw that name out there. Don't show up every time something bad goes wrong and you're showing up on the scene. And I'm Al Sharpton. I'm going to be there. Be there when there's nothing going on. That's when I want to see you, when nothing going on. That's when I see Eric Dyson. That's when I see Farrakhan. That's when I see a lot of other people. And you tell me who in history of America's 226-year history has ever got 1 million people to come to one place and no violence took place. You tell me that one person. Tell me that one person.
I thought Al. Well, I
Louis
thought Al
Farrakhan is
Sharpton.
the only one.
Enlighten us.
Louis Farrakhan is the only one. Is the only one.
The only one what?
The only one that brought 1 million people to the United States
Mm-hmm.
Capitol and no black people and everything else happened. He brought 1 million blacks to the nation's capital at that particular time. Everybody thought, oh, it's going to be a million rapes. There's going to be a million stores are going to be broken into. This is going to happen. And none of that happened. None of that happened at all. Because we're not that type of people. But you let the media tell the story, that's what it was supposed to be. Or that's what it was going to be. But it didn't happen to be that way. So my thing about it is that Al Sharpton and all the rest of that crew that want to get out there and march all the time, instead of marching, instead of protesting, you need to turn it into policy. That's what you need to turn it into. You need to turn it into laws. That's what you need to turn it into. And didn't we march 50, 60 years ago and we're still marching to this day? And do you realize the wealthy 1% are not out there marching? You ever notice that?
I think there's other things you can do besides march. I don't think that a person's support should be indicative of whether they march or not. I mean, and to your point about Al Sharpton or Farrakhan or whomever, yes, Farrakhan did the Million Man March, and that was unprecedented at that time. But real talk, and it's just from what I see, I haven't seen Farrakhan in the media. I mean, and I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's not. All I'm saying is in terms of seeing him, I don't see him. I don't see him. I did listen to one of his messages, and it might have been on YouTube or something like that, where he talked about the George Floyd situation. But in terms of being out there in front of media, in front of whatever, talking about what has happened, I don't see him. Al Sharpton, you only see him because he's now has a little segment on the news station. You see him, but there's a lot of people that you don't see that may be doing a whole lot, seriously. And then there's people that you see that you just see and they ain't really doing nothing. They just, show.
You got so many celebrities that give money behind the scenes.
That's my point,
so
right?
I do agree that give money behind the scenes to the Nation of Islam, to United Negro College Fund, to different organizations. But my thing about it is that the reason why you won't see Farrakhan out in open is because a lot of people think what he has to say is hate speech. They think it's hate speech. They don't think that is speaking knowledge to power. They don't see it as that. They see it as, oh, he's going to awaken the masses. Don't let him wake up the masses. And my thing about it is that, and then Henry Ford even said it himself, if America knew what was going on, they would be out in the street in bundles and in droves. That they knew how the country was being sold out and how the country is being ran. Even Obama, when Obama was in office, there were certain hotels that he couldn't stay in New York City because they were owned by the Chinese. So, with that being said, you really got to look around and see what's going on around you and what's happening around you. And only time, like I said, I'll go back to Al Sharpton. I see him is when he's on CNN, cheesing and grinning, or when he's on when something happens. And they told him in the Breonna Taylor case when they were protesting, they said, "You can go ahead and get away from here. You and Jesse Jackson. We don't need y'all. We don't need you. We don't need you."
So why did they say that though? I mean, because I don't. Why did they say that?
Because this young crowd now, they're standing up. My thing about it is that the older generation, why didn't they pick up the mantle when Martin Luther King got killed? Why didn't they pick up the mantle when Malcolm X got killed? Why didn't they pick up the mantle when Medgar Evers got killed? This young group that we have now, and you'll see the t-shirts out there, they'll say, we're not our ancestors. So, and I'm sure you've seen the t-shirts with folks that say them all the time. But I'm a t-shirt fiend.
So when you say haven't picked up the mantle, I mean, I think that some people that marched in those marches and fought would probably beg to differ. So when you say they haven't picked up the mantle, I think with every generation is a baton that's passed, right? You have the civil rights, our parents and parents that fought in those battles. You pass the baton. So I do think that the baton is now being passed to this generation, and they are going about it totally different than we did. But I don't think it discounts what the people before them did and what they endured to get that baton to this generation. You know what I mean? This generation, I think, is definitely standing up in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's an affront to what the people before them did. You know what I mean? I think it's a baton passing, in essence. You know, I mean, my mother's will be 74, so I know she ain't gonna be out there marching. Okay, so she ain't gonna be out there. She might be cussing people out, but that's probably about it. So I think it's just a matter of a baton being passed. I mean, Cousin Skip, what do you think?
You know, nobody's methodology is going to be 100% across the board.
Right.
There are going to be some who picket. There are going to be some who want to tear up shit. There are going to be some who want to do it, get laws passed. All of it's relevant.
Right.
You just have to, pick what works for you, pay your money, and take your chances. But to sit on your hands and do nothing, that's inexcusable.
Right.
Right.
And I think you see a lot of that.
My final word on Mr. Floyd for today. I think that, as I said in the beginning, I think he's going to be the sacrificial lamb for the policeman. And not only because he was just wrong, but he has made it very easy to be the sacrificial lamb for the policeman to try to get some of this negative impact up off of them for the way that they behave and treat people. If you want to turn a page with the community, this is the place to turn that page.
Right.
Okay,
yeah. So real quick, feel free to give us a call at 202-227-6500. You can interact with us on any of the platforms that we're streaming via chat. And what I would like to do, if it's okay with you guys, I want to take a mini break and segue into bringing some folks into the kitchen that might be hungry, may not be, maybe hungry. That's okay with you guys?
That's fine with me. Mel?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Again, 202-227-6500. Feel free to give us a call.
Hey, people. Hey, how are you? Welcome to my kitchen. Okay. Did I sound like Martha Stewart? Okay, not quite Martha Stewart, but anyway, I digress. Anyway, listen, we're going to make a really quick, easy, 20-minute appetizer entree. You can use it for either. And it's a recipe that you can share with your kids. That should be something fun for you and your kids to do in the kitchen. So we're going to make a flatbread. And it's only literally maybe about 4 or 5 ingredients. Real simple. But it's really, really healthy. I know a lot of parents struggle with getting their kids to eat vegetables and just trying to eat a little healthier. Because a lot of times, let's be honest, some of the healthier stuff does not taste good. It just absolutely doesn't taste good. But this is real food, real vegetables, real good fats, nothing imitation. And like I said, it'll take 20 minutes. And I mean 20 minutes from prep to finish, okay? I'm thinking about you people, time constraints, just saying. So what we're gonna make is we're going to make a flatbread. We're gonna make a flatbread. We're gonna use a Mediterranean spice that is freaking amazing. It's amazing. And in that Mediterranean spice is some wild thyme, some sesame seed, whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, enough of that. Come on in the kitchen. Come on. And get them to, Come on, let's go. Okay, we're gonna make a real quick flatbread. As you can see, we have our flatbread. You can get the round, you can get this rectangular. I got the rectangular. You're gonna need a basting brush. You're gonna need some cucumber diced up. And that's about a little bit more than a half cucumber cut up. And you're gonna need some red tomatoes. That's about 2 Romano tomatoes, which are the oblong looking ones. And then I just added a couple of wild mushrooms, which is yellow. It's like a yellow and purple, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's just literally a few, not a whole lot. And this is the star of the show, za'atar. This is a Middle Eastern spice. It's made with wild thyme and some other ingredients, but it is absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. And you can get this online at Amazon, and I will leave a link to this particular spice at the bottom in the comment section, okay? All right, the other quick thing is we're gonna need a little salt, and you can use olive oil if you want. I'm gonna use avocado oil for this particular quick meal. So, but again, olive oil will do the same trick. Okay, here we go. Okay, first we're going to take some oil. You're gonna drizzle it on. It don't matter how much you put on. Just gonna drizzle it on so we get a nice coat. And we're gonna drizzle it on. Okay. We'll drizzle that on, and then take the basting brush, and we're just gonna put it just to make sure we spread it evenly across the whole piece of flatbread. And flatbread has these little crevices, so we want to make sure that it gets inside those lovely, lovely crevices. I don't know if you can see it. All right, inside the crevices. All right, it looks like we just dumped water on it, but we didn't. All right, so you can see some of it's still dripping, which is good. You want that. Can never have too much of the avocado oil, and it's actually really good fats. All right, so we're going to take some cucumbers. Just gonna take the cucumbers and just, ain't gotta be fancy. We're just gonna throw it all on here. Some cucumbers. Now, the other thing you can add on here, you can add some onions if you want. I typically don't, I just do the cucumbers. All right. All right. The other thing I try to do is I take this spice. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, I take the za'atar and I literally, with each layer, see, I don't have hardly any left. That's how much of this I use all the time. But anyway, put a little bit in my hand, actually a lot in my hand. And you want to sprinkle it on. Coat this bad boy. All right, I'm gonna sprinkle it on a little bit more. This stuff is like amazing. Wait till you taste it. It is like so amazing. So I'm gonna put this stuff on. Make sure we get it all over the flatbread. Use a little brush if you need to. You know, don't matter if the cucumbers move, they're gonna move anyway. So we'll just make sure we get this za'atar on here. I'm actually gonna put some more on here, but let's put the tomatoes on here too first. All right, tomatoes. Here we go. You gotta get you back on there. All right, add a little bit of salt. After you do the za'atar, add a little bit of salt, not a whole lot. I don't know if you can see that, it's not really a whole lot. Just gonna put a little salt on here. All right. Okay, we're gonna start with the regular tomatoes. Now put those on here. You wanna just sprinkle them on. Again, doesn't have to be fancy, but we're just gonna sprinkle them on. Yeah, there we go. All right. And the thing is, you can put as many or as little as you like. It's really, truly up to you. All right. Get a little bit more of the za'atar. As you see, I'm layering it. You can, there's no real rhyme or reason on how to do this. You can do it however you want to do it. Okay? However you like to do it. I just like each layer to have some flavor. So, a little bit more salt. Pretty much same amount as I used before. And again, I take my little basting brush because I like to make sure we get everything on here. Nice and even. All right. And then I'm going to throw a little bit of these wild tomatoes on here. I got them at the grocery store. We'll see what they do. But I've never used them actually. I've tasted them before, but not on flatbread. They're actually pretty good. As you can see, when I said I had a little bit. All right. There we go. We want to get the za'atar again. And thyme has a lot of really, really good benefits, okay? So we're gonna sprinkle this on. Okay, we're gonna make sure the oven is set at 475, right? 475, and we're gonna cook this until it gets brown. Not burnt, just brown. And you'll see, so this is not gonna stick and all of that good stuff. You just want it to be brown. So I'm gonna bake it, I don't know, we'll start with 10 minutes and see how that does. And if we need to put it in a little longer, we'll leave it a little longer. So as you can tell, I really like the spice. I'm going to add some more because it's really good. And also, I'm going to put some quick benefits of wild thyme in the comment section so you guys can see what the benefits are. And then you'll understand why I keep loading on with this particular spice. So anyway, so there we have it. We're going to now put it in the oven. Again, preheat the oven for 475 for about 10 minutes, but make sure you check it. Depending on how hot your oven gets, you may need to leave it a little longer. You may be able to take it out faster. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this may be a better picture. So we're getting ready to put in the oven. As you can see, all the spices, the wild tomatoes, the regular Romano tomatoes, cucumbers, and the za'atar spices. And the flatbread is basted with avocado oil. However, you can use olive oil. It's pretty, huh? Okay, guys, 10 minutes later, and here we go. Looks fantastic, right? See? And see how it's just a little, it's brown on the ends, not burnt, just brown. Just brown deliciousness. The other thing, if you want, you can also drizzle a little bit more avocado oil on the top or olive oil, whichever you want. But this is a really quick, healthy 10-minute cook time, rather. Probably about 20 minutes total prep and cook time for you and your family. And you can actually get 3 good sizes out of this. And if you want to cut it in smaller pieces, of course, you'll get more. But this is a really quick meal for you and your family. It's a good way also to introduce vegetables to your kids, the ones that say they don't like vegetables. Yeah, them. Okay. Hey, people.
Looks good.
Thank you. I said for the non-cookers, something just real quick that anybody can make.
Okay.
Okay. So we have any final words, or I saw that there was something from Alfonso Johnson. Let me see what he says. He says, sadly, many, not all, our entertainers, athletes, and celebrities are not as engaged and outspoken as the Baldwins, Simmons, Hansberrys, and so on. They were self-sacrificing in time. Wait a minute. They were self-sacrificing in times that were a lot more turbulent. Yeah, I agree.
I want to tell Mr. Johnson he definitely has my vote for president. I would tell him I back him. I back you on that, Mr. Johnson. You're right. Because when you mentioned Baldwin, he's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest orators and writers of the 20th century. We won't get another one like him again. And all the people you mentioned were great, and all of them stood for something. Now everybody just corporatized now. They're just really corporatized now, and that's so sad. But that's what it is. But I definitely agree with what he had to say.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, cousin Skip.
Mr. Chauvin is gonna get his comeuppance when this trial is over.
Wait, say that again.
Mr. Chauvin is going to get his comeuppance when this trial is over.
The word of the day: comeuppance.
Comeuppance, yeah.
Comeuppance. Okay, so we have excoriate and comeuppance. Yeah, that word. I've been trying to use that in a sentence somewhere. Excoriate. Okay. All right, Mel.
I just want to say y'all be kind to each other out there, and just look out for each other and pray for each other and be kind to each other. So
okay, so my final thoughts is I agree with what both the gentlemen have said. The other thing is, when it's time to vote for your local officials, your police chiefs, and all of that, midterms, get out and vote. Get out and vote. If you can't do nothing else, voting is free. Get out and vote. You know, make a difference where you can make a difference. You may not be marching, you may not have the finances, but you can vote. You can vote. Take the time to look at who's running in your community and vote. So that's my last bits of a little bits. See, that wasn't as good as comeuppance, but that's
it was fine.
comeuppance. I'm going to use that. I'm gonna find a way to use that. I'm gonna find a way. Find a way.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Feel free to send us a leave a message on our YouTube or our Facebook if you have any titles, topic suggestions. So we're around, but we'll see you next week. Talk to you all later.
Have a good night.